This was invented in 1895 by Tolbert Lanston, who also invented an early type of calculator. These machines were used mainly for composing type for books.
This is a monotype keyboard, and it's part of a two-machine system. This in front of me is the keyboard, and allied to it is a casting machine. The keyboard sets the type and also punches a spool of paper, and the spool of paper is read eventually by the caster. I'll just give a quick demonstration of how a few lines of a book would be set. Now, I've set the first line in this copy, and I've come to a comma, and the next word is another, and I've got that much space left. I've got to decide whether I can fit that word in or not. So I decide not to fit it in. So therefore, I've made a firm decision to end the line. I now go to this justifying scale, and I read the figures in the L-shaped device here. It reads 10 and 5. So I hit a top 10 in the justifying scale, 10, and a double 5, and I reverse. Now I've set that line, and it exists now in a series of punches on that paper. I'll just show you what happens when that goes to the caster. The larger punches there, 10 and 5, will be read by the caster first, and they'll set wedges in position which will define the size of the space to bring the line out to the full measure. In other words, it will justify the line. The keyboard is powered by compressed air from a compressor outside, and you can hear it there. In its initial form, it had only one keyboard, and after a couple of years, that was extended to two sides, two keyboards as you see it there, with the different alphabets. Over a period of years, that was extended and improved upon, so that you had more letters. You were accommodated with as many as 400 different characters. The original machines were quite limited. You might have, I think there was only one set of characters, one alphabet or two alphabets at that time. That improved over the years. On the keyboard, I've got 7 alphabets. I've got capitals of ordinary type, I've lowercase of ordinary type, and ordinary figures. I have the same thing, capitals, lowercase, and figures in bold, heavy type. And I have the same thing again in italic, capitals of italic, lowercase of italic. And here, the 7th alphabet, I have small capitals. So I've everything I could possibly need as regards setting the average job, or the average book, say, or the average pamphlet, or the average brochure, everything I could possibly need is there. I can also set languages. I can set all European languages. The accents can be put onto something that wouldn't be used for the specific work onto the small capitals, but I would have to get the right value. So in other words, if I had an accented E or an accented I must get the same value up here for the E or the I. Otherwise, I have to make up a measure before I start. Now, the measure I have there is 24 picas, and that converts to 4 inches in width. And it's the average measure that you will find in the average book. To start off, I hit a double set of justifying keys and reverse. And by doing that, if the caster was away from the machine, what I've done there will actually stop the machine. So it'll be the last thing to come out, and it'll stop the machine if the caster man is not there. Those are the justification punches, 3 and 4. And they're the punches which decide on the space between the words. You can actually read the tape with this little chart here, and I'll give you the numbers. Here I have a H6. So how do I identify those letters? I go to a printout of the die case, which is there, and I read the letters on top and the numbers down the side. So, for instance, if I want J2, I go J on top, 2 down here, and I have a square bracket. So that's how you actually can read the punches. I think the system worked for a full century. And within that century, it produced some of the best known and best quality books ever produced. It's interesting to state also that the majority of the stock in the library would have been produced on the monotype system. It went for quality work, and whilst it was a two-man operation, the quality of the print was exceptional. It wasn't only known for bookwork, it was also the best system for doing tabular work. In other words, all types of timetables, transport timetables, financial reports, all that sort of stuff, where you had a lot of columns. This was the machine for it. The linotype, in comparison, the two ran in tandem really in a lot of printing offices. The linotype was a one-man operation, but didn't have the versatility of this. Also, the linotype produced slugs, complete line, whereas the monotype produced single characters. They were more difficult to handle for the compositor. You couldn't throw the type around, and you had to be very careful. And a lot of inexperienced compositors, their first experience with monotype was often a disaster, because the type could easily fall over. After a bit of experience, you got to know how to handle it, and it was quite easy. Well, the keyboard operator, depending on his skills, he he couldn't see really. He was working blind. He couldn't see what was being produced. When you compare with today's computers, you have a screen. You can see what you're doing. Here you couldn't. The only thing you knew was if you made a mistake, you were conscious of making the mistake. Now you had two options. You could continue and leave the mistake there, or you could kill the line. And to kill a line, you only had to press, you only had to press a lowercase justification button, the red buttons there, reverse. That killed the line. When the caster read that kill punch, it stopped the machine and the paper moved on over where you had made the mistake. So a keyboard operator was, he was judged on how accurate he was. And if you were accurate, you were highly thought of, you could command more money, because people who made mistakes were holding up production. So it was very important to start off slowly when you were learning and build up your speed gradually. Because the relationship between caster and keyboard was so important, it was almost like a marriage. It was either good or bad. If the keyboard operator gave trouble or made a lot of mistakes in the setting, he created havoc on the caster. So it was very important that the two people got on well together and they knew each other's strengths. Take off the spool. Then I write the instructions on the spool. And pass the spool now to the caster operator.